great project that you would like to share with us, we would be happy to see it. We did want to give you guys some time. So the closeout date for that, I believe, isn't until August. So you'll have some time to get all that great work together. Other than that, roads and streets, of course. So October 6th through 8th. We will also be having our golf tournament at the La Paloma Country Club on the morning of October 6th. So please be on the lookout for that information, which will be coming soon. And other than that, it's great to see you guys. And that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I should ask, are there any announcements from Maricopa Department of Transportation?
I can't think of any unless Jesse or Steve have any.
I don't have any, no.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for being here. We always appreciate your support and interest in this. And we're excited to have Denise Lacey here with us. She's the Transportation Systems Planning Branch Manager and has been with Maricopa County Department of Transportation for nearly 14 years now. I think it's getting close. So we're excited to have Denise with us today. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Denise.
Great. Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Elijah. You're always so kind to me. And yes, it's sometimes difficult to believe, but 14 years is creeping up on me very quickly. And I was counting how long I've been in my current position and realized 7 years is creeping on me very quickly. So obviously I like where I'm at. McDOT is an amazing organization, and they let me get away with a few things on occasion there. So it's fun for me and always changing. So recent changes included with Nicholas Swart's retirement. So looking forward to what our next chapter is in planning, and I'm going to share a few of those things with you folks today. So I am going to share my screen because I have prepared a presentation. If I can remember how to do this in Zoom.
You got it. That's exactly right. We can see it.
Awesome. So the first thing I want to say is, of course, thank you for allowing me to speak. You know, I love talking about what we do. So it's great, again, to be part of McDOT and the wonderful things that systems planning has been able to accomplish over the few years. Now, it's been a while since I've seen most of you, and some of you now have facial hair that didn't have facial hair before from the men's side, and some women have changed their hairstyles. But as you all know, we went to teleworking in March of 2020. We quickly learned how to social distance. We quickly learned that virtual meetings and gatherings were a necessary part of doing business. We also discovered a lot of ways of doing business and some benefits that we could achieve in the new mode of business working. And I am proud to say that we have made a lot of accomplishments, not just in planning, but throughout McDOT. And I know that is true of many of you as well in your organizations. You have found new modes to do business in. So I believe we've all been busy. I just happened to find this redhead directing people, so I thought that was appropriate for me. So as you may or may not know, the systems planning branch about 1.5 years ago decided to focus on some functional areas to help us refine, define, and focus on how we do planning at McDOT. So those functional areas included travel demand, right-of-way preservation, PM10 management, parks roadway planning, active transportation, and this year we are adding technology trends and programming, which were part of what we did before, but we did not have as great a focus on those. So of course, travel demand includes evaluating capacity, safety, level of service, and all the tools that are needed. And some of our recent efforts on this have included increasing our coordination on traffic counts. That's been super large for us to understand where we are today and how those future projections are needed. We've also updated a cost tool. We've created some GIS base maps. And we recently, well, about a year ago now, created a cross-section analysis. And we are in the middle of working with the engineering group through David Fritz to implement some of the recommendations that were discovered in that. So that's very exciting. Right-of-way preservation, which has grown to be a very large function in MCDOT planning and gets bigger every day. This includes all the things that we need to preserve or obtain our right-of-way. So from development review to patent easement abandonment, and even how do we preserve our assets through the preservation of future right-of-way. Some of our recent efforts have included gaining a seat on the review teams for the city of Buckeye and the city of Surprise, and we just recently made the same offer to 2 other jurisdictions. We have established a single point of contact for any of our developers. That single point of contact is Lindsay O'Neill, and that helps us understand, to provide a more consistent message to our developers. We also have established regular meetings within MCDOT permits and traffic so that we all are on the same page as we are processing comments back to our developments. And we have improved our patent easement abandonment processing. This is no easy task. These are all very large efforts in and of themselves, but bringing them into one function has made a big difference in how we can be consistent with our comments. PM10 management, of course, is always a big thing throughout Maricopa County and the air quality standards. We have worked really hard to obtain a new method or a revised method to prioritize those roadways that may need improvement. We have now an annual inventory review that's internal to planning. We look at what the previous ADTs were. We indicate any potential growth in those areas, and then we are able to go through a process to coordinate with air quality maintenance and make those recommendations for potential programming as funding becomes available. We did, however, in 2020, thank you very much, COVID, delay our traffic counts because it didn't make sense to make those at this time. We will be revamping that and starting that again in 2021, as most of us are starting to move about quite a bit more. And if you've been shopping lately, you've noticed that. Parks roadway planning is something we've always touched on in the systems planning branch, but we have increased that this past year and a half. Lindsay O'Neill oversees this as well. She oversees the circulation plans to ensure that our parks master plans are now including a circulation plan, as most of them have not in the past. We are also working with parks on new roadway requests and analysis of future projects. We have established annual meetings with them. We have developed a level of service threshold mechanism, and just a plug, that will be discussed at ACEC Roads and Streets in October. We'll talk about how we did that. We developed the White Tank Regional Park Master Circulation Plan and came up with a project rating system to help us prioritize the requests from parks. Active transportation is a huge component. Reed Kempton oversees this particular function. This includes, of course, bicycle and pedestrian, including our ADA, transit, and a recent development of equestrian, just to understand those needs. Some of our recent efforts have been our ability to expand our corridor studies to include those needs for active transportation. And 2 recently completed studies include the Broadway Road Corridor Study and the Bethany Home Road Corridor Study. ADA is a huge component of this. And of course, we have our reporting mechanisms that we need to do to ADOT, the development of the ADA transition plan and the action plan every year. So these are some of the accomplishments we've done over the last 3 years. You can see that it's no easy effort from curb ramps to passing areas, and this work continues. We did develop MCDOT ADA guidelines to assist in our consultants, our developers, anybody else that wants to know what some of our standards are or our expectations for ADA. We've also completed now 11, I just found out, 11 neighborhood facilities analysis. 3 of those have moved into jobs on contract. And that's been super exciting because that allows us to get some of these improvements done quicker. One of our neighborhood facilities analysis has moved into a scoping, and we have more waiting to move into both JOC and scoping. We have 13 TIP projects that are in design and 5 that are in construction that have taken a greater focus on the ADA needs. So a lot of accomplishments. Thank you, MCDOT leadership, for helping us make this a reality. And we are getting kudos regularly from ADOT for the movement that we are making on this. As I stated, we added 2 new functional areas during our recent workshop, and those include the technology trends. This is an effort to help us focus on the TSMO, the Transportation Systems Management Operations, and understand what we in MCDOT planning can do to ensure that we are looking at TSMO options from the idea or the vision of any of our projects. We're super excited about that, and Angela Horn is overseeing this and has already brought forth a few ideas that we are really looking forward to implementing. Of course, this also means keeping our finger on the latest trends, whether it's connected and autonomous vehicles or any of the latest research on data and trends, which we know has been challenging with COVID and that changing some of the trends. We're looking to see what happens there. And then we will make recommendations to our programming group and to our leadership team on how we can plan for technology. Programming is something that the MCDOT Systems Planning Group has been involved in over the last about 5 years. We wanted to take a greater focus and assist in developing a better process for planning and working with our project management group and our TIP manager on how we can best make recommendations and prioritizations for our funding that is available. So this will include combining the identified needs and recommendations, comparing that to our available funding. It will also assist in looking for additional funding. It requires a lot of coordination with all of our divisions. And of course, this oversees our project rating system to help us prioritize. And again, Angela Horn is in charge of this particular function. So some of our current projects are TSP 2040, which we are getting ready to wrap up, and I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. The Desert Hills Area Study, which is going to allow us to look at some of our collector and local roadway gaps that we have through that area. We have more neighborhood facilities analysis in way. We are going to begin a Forest Road corridor analysis to look at some needs up in that area. And the 115th, 117th Avenue corridor study from Williams Drive north to just north of Happy Valley to help us figure out how that growth in that area is continuing to impact that and what facilities we may need as we're moving forward. TSP 2040, we have had a great time. It's been a bit more challenging with COVID and going to virtual outreach, but I will say that the team has done an amazing job. So the needs identification and final report are in their final stages. A draft project list has been approved by our leadership team, and we are moving forward with that. You can see on your screen, we looked at the needs of capacity, pedestrian, bicycle, PM10, safety, ITS, structures, pavement preservation, and drainage. So our project list will include an identification of what that need is. And it's super exciting to see this moving forward in a different format. We are anticipating going to the Transportation Advisory Board for their recommendation and the Board of Supervisors for their approval in the next few months. So by the end of the summer, we should have all of this wrapped up. Super exciting. Some of our other efforts that we are moving on are the dirt roads, our PM10 roadways. What options do we have to meet air quality regulations? When to pave, when not to pave, and how do we prioritize? We are growing that program now. Updates to our ADA guidelines. There are new updates to the MUTCD, as most of you are aware, and we want to make sure we are in line with those. Customer service has been a big push at MCDOT over the last several years, and more so this past year. And going to a virtual world has definitely made that more forefront in our minds. We have begun developing guidelines for processing our applications, established single points of contacts for many of our functions, and we are working towards a seamless jurisdictional coordination, and that's part of why we're sitting on development review teams. Upcoming projects, these are not necessarily going out for any kind of a bid or anything like that, just making you aware of what we're on. A pedestrian connectivity study that will look at areas that connect to transit, schools, some of our neighborhood services, a White Tank Park emergency access. A recent fire in our White Tank Park gave some concerns as to our single point of access into the park. Some equestrian accommodation, how do we make that work in or adjacent to our right-of-way? A new river area study, which again, now we'll look at our collector and local roadway network through that area. And of course, more neighborhood facilities analysis, those are a backbone of what we're doing at this time. So I thought this quote was very valid for what we have all experienced in 2020 and the beginning of 2021. When patterns are broken, new worlds emerge. And I believe that planning has taken that to heart. We have dug deep to find new methods on how to accomplish what we need to accomplish, as have all of you. And I cannot be more proud of how we have all responded to our virtual business and keeping things moving along. I want to thank you for your time. And again, if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Denise. I appreciate that presentation. It sounds like the different efforts by your group continue to change and improve and grow. I guess one of the questions we're talking about, you know, we've seen here a lot of growth lately in the valley. You know, that we've all seen the home prices going up. There's been an undersupply. I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about those big master planned communities on the other side of the White Tank Mountains, the west side of the White Tank Mountains, finally starting to look like they're going to come into reality. And I know that the county spent a lot of time looking at various transportation corridors through that area. With what that growth is now expected to happen on the other side of the White Tanks, is the planning group looking at reevaluating any of those corridor studies? Are those things being implemented by the developers in the way that they were intended originally?
That's a great question, Elijah. And part of the challenge, of course, is many of those are communities you're now talking about no longer lay in unincorporated Maricopa County. A good part of them have been annexed. That's why it continues to be important for us to have such a seamless jurisdictional coordination with communities such as the city of Buckeye and the city of Surprise. Those are two of the largest growing areas that we are working with master plans. The Hassayampa I-10 transportation framework study still stands in place. Some of those parkways that were identified in that, as you well know, 15 of them were evaluated by Maricopa County. Some of those have stayed in place. A few of those have been, some of the parkway classifications have been dropped based upon constraints that were found through those corridors or the inability. In the areas where possible, we continue to preserve for the larger right-of-way, and we continue to coordinate and rerun numbers to ensure that we are preserving for or asking for the proper dedication or roadway for the area that the roadway will be in. So that's a great way of me not giving you a specific answer, but it's just challenging because there is no specific answer. In some areas, the Jackrabbit Trail, for instance, Jackrabbit Trail was indicated as a parkway, and between the city of Goodyear, the city of Glendale, the city of Surprise, Maricopa County, and the city of Buckeye, we all came together and decided to keep that Jackrabbit Trail as an arterial parkway. We felt that that will serve our communities as we move towards the future. And it has made it better for our developments along that corridor. We are not having to take 50% of their developable land away from them as we're moving forward. As you may or may not know, we did an area transportation study from I-10 to Bell Road, from the 303 to Jackrabbit, to ensure that we would be okay moving forward and have enough room for growth. In some other areas, such as the city of Buckeye, they recently updated their transportation circulation plan. So we hold tight to their plans for their planning area, as well as holding tight to the plans in other jurisdictional areas such as Surprise. So we all continue to work together to ensure that we're going to meet the needs well into the future on the roadway system.
Thank you. Other questions for Denise?
Wow, you guys are a quiet group today. See, they needed their breakfast and their coffee.
I know.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you who continue to support Maricopa County Department of Transportation. Many of you work with developers and other jurisdictional areas. You are great about coordinating with us. We so very much appreciate it. We're all working to ensure that we have a system that works well into the future. And of course, providing connections that improve people's lives, which is our credo at Maricopa County. So thank you to all of you, and thank you for allowing me to speak with you today.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else that anyone else needs to bring up in today's meeting? Any other announcements? And if not, we'll go ahead and conclude our meeting today. Next month, that one is still a bit of a work in process. We'll see what happens for next month. But just so you know, we are planning to not hold meetings in July and August. We're going to be taking a break. We may shift that to June and July, depending on how things go. So just look for the invitation when it comes. And if not, you guys have a great summer season. I know graduations and things are coming up. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Elijah.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Elijah.
Nice
Thanks,
to see everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Denise. Great meeting.
Yeah. Bye.